Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Coffee Conversation Show, powered by the Emerging India Forum TIF and our technology partner Prime Infotech Solution. I am Jolly Singh, co-host at Coffee and associate with Prime Infotech Solution, and today's theme is in the legal limelight, law, life, and leadership, and series of the emerging lawyer, where we delve into the dynamic world of law with none other than Miss Priyanka V Pandit. An accomplished advocate, mediator, and legal consultant, Priyanka has been a formidable presence in the legal arena since 2011. With a rich portfolio that spans criminal, civil, family, IP, and commercial disputes, she is known for her adept handling of complex trials and arbitrations. As a certified privacy professional and a passionate educator, Priyanka not only advocates for justice in the courtroom but also imparts her extensive knowledge to the next generation of legal minds. Join us as we explore her journey, personal interest, and multifaceted life of this inspiring legal luminary. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Robin.
Uh,
Wonderful being here.
it's an absolute pleasure for having you on this session with us today. So before we get into the conversation, I would very much like to brief you about the flow of the conversation that we are going to have today. So
Sure.
we will be having three rounds in total. The first is the professional questions round, the second is the personal questions round, and we end the entire conversation with a very fun rapid fire round.
Okay.
Yes. If you perform really well in the rapid fire round, we also have a small surprise for you. So, yes, so
Okay,
please
I'm
embrace
excited now.
yourself. This is what we have in our like Santa bag for you today. Um, so let's get started. Are you ready?
Yes, let's go for it.
Okay. So we are starting with our very first round, which is the professional questions round. And to start with the very first question, ma'am, that what inspired you to pursue a career in law, and how has your journey evolved since then?
Okay. Uh, I've had a deep inclination towards law ever since I was a child, even when I was in school. I think it's a mix of everything that I faced, right? So everything we are is a combination of nature and nurture. So I've been inclined towards law, and this only amplified when I went to law school. Um, it could also perhaps be a little bit in my genes. Both my parents have actually studied law, but didn't get an opportunity to pursue it because they took up different careers. So I'm the only practicing lawyer in the family. But yeah,
Okay, ma'am. So, how do you balance your various roles as advocate, mediator, and legal consultant?
yeah, I understand that all these roles have different expectations, right? So when I'm an advocate, for example, I have a duty to my client, I have a duty to the court, I have a duty to my colleagues. I also have to understand what my clients' real end goal or what their troubles are so that we can try to arrive at a situation or defend them in the best possible way. This requires a very different mindset and a very different role to play, where I not only analyze the situation legally, but also tell them what the process would be like, what they can expect, right? What the impact will be, etc.
Right.
As a mediator, the role is entirely different. What I do as a mediator is entirely empower the parties to not only speak out what their problems are, what their real grievances are, but also give them a comfortable, confidential, and supportive platform where they can really talk about even their emotional problems or traumas that they have faced because of whatever situation they're in, whatever the dispute is. This is something that parties cannot do in court, or the courts will not give advantage to, because the justice system is all about evidence and what's on the papers and what the law says.
Right.
So in mediation, it's a very different role. Also, it's not about me; it's about the parties, and it's to enable them to not only speak out but also see the perspective of the other side and come to a settlement, what I love to call the golden middle, so that they can both arrive at their own understanding, their own settlement of the dispute, and have complete closure in the situation and walk out happy. So that's a very different role again. As a legal consultant, it's important to understand what the needs of the business are or what the needs of the client are, what concerns them the most, understand their business or working process, assess that, evaluate that, guide them, and also perhaps in some cases handhold them to tell them how they can execute on the advice.
Right. Also, ma'am, as a visiting faculty member, how do you integrate your practical experience into your teaching? You have already like been in three roles. You are handling three roles in total, and then you are a teacher. So how are you juggling and also like getting all managing to get all the practical in hand experience that you have to into like educating this young legal professionals that we are going to have in the future?
So, actually, being visiting faculty really excites me because I get a chance to go back to academia. It also gives me an opportunity to interact and discuss and debate on what, apart from what we learn from our books and our laws and our case laws, it's also important to understand how this is applied in real life. So when I'm teaching, I hope to have very interactive, very engaging sessions which are more discussion based. I will use storytelling as a mode because me as a student also I've never been able to do rote learning, so I will never practice it or profess it. So when I'm lecturing, it's not just something that I am giving. In fact, I encourage my students to participate and teach, read up and come, so that we can have discussions, debates, and talk about some of the matters that I've been exposed to, or talk about some of the matters that are being talked about in the press or the media, which are real and relevant, so that we can come up with our own analysis, our own perspectives, and they can develop that analytical skill set, which is key for any lawyer, right? So for a young mind, that's very important to have.
Definitely, ma'am. Also, what motivated you to specialize in complex trials and arbitrations?
See, when I started my career in law, I it was a very different time in law because we saw a lot of matters becoming complex in the sense that a single transaction or a single dispute will often have a criminal case, a civil case, something happening in the company law board or the NCLT, some tax issues then coming up, some other inquiries then happening. So if as an advocate you are only able to provide support or insight to your client in only one particular field, then what happens is the rest sort of remains unaddressed for the client, and then the client is in a position where they have to run between different lawyers, different perspectives, different firms, and it can become very, very messy. So yes, it's extremely challenging, but I decided to focus on these complex disputes and arbitrations because one, it allows me to expand my knowledge, right? And two, it allows me to give a holistic approach to whatever problem statement is in front of me. And I'm able to assist my client, in a better and a more succinct manner.
Okay, ma'am. How do you keep up with the ever-changing landscape of legal regulations, especially into the areas like data privacy and cyber law? That now that like it is evolving, we
Everything's
can call
changing.
it like every day. It's not every
Yes.
week or month, but every day it is evolving.
Yes.
So how are you managing between amidst all the roles that you are having to handle? So how are you being updated to it?
So, see, law is very dynamic. I think for us to be practicing it, we have to be as dynamic, if not
Right.
more. So I read a lot. So I try to read at least one case law judgment a day, then try to make my notes or analyze it. I also get into discussions very often with my friends or colleagues at work about something that's happening, some issue. I also dabble into research from time to time on certain questions that come to my mind, which I myself want to find answers to. I think that's the best way to learn anything or adapt to anything. So yeah, it's a lot of reading, lots of discussion to sort of keep on your toes to continue to change with time, evolve with time.
Okay, ma'am. Just out of curiosity, I'm asking this question since like you have you are involved in multiple roles, especially as an educator. When you say that, and even like our teachers, our professors in law schools also like mention this quite a bit, that you should make sure that you are reading at least one case a day.
Yes.
Or at least like say, let's say one or two section or article a day, just to like be on your tiptoe while you are like getting on
Yes.
with everything. So
Yes.
do you think like this is possible for every person, or it is very particular to few, and there are also another tips and tricks to be updated and everything? Or like, because sometimes these things are a kind of phrases also, like because person like you who is like able to manage multiple roles will make sure that I am like making sure I have to read and I will read. But is it true for all? And if not, what else can be done? And what is your like personal opinion about this? Like, is it just like a phrase and only practiced by few, or it should be practiced by everyone in our profession?
Okay. So, see, I believe everybody is capable of reading, right? What happens is we choose to read what interests us, or what we have passion for. Presumably, everybody who's pursuing law will have passion for it,
Right.
or will have some interest for it. So, it's not also important to know what to read. The real trick is in how to read.
Right.
I mean, I used to wonder as a law student how these judges are drafting judgments which are in hundreds of pages.
Right, right.
Imagine the memos and the pleadings must be in the thousands, and how do they manage to still deal with so many matters which are on their board, right? So it's a skill, it's a real skill.
Yes.
But I think what's more important is they know exactly what to read.
Right.
They know what to pick out from that pile, and what to question you on. And of course that comes with a lot of experience, a lot of training, a lot of time. But so it's important to have some tips and tricks. One which I was very fortunate to have learned from a sitting justice himself, not sitting now, retired, was that you must know how to cruise through a case law. You must know, in your mind should be adapt to reading the first few paras to understand who's involved, then reading the ratio of the judgment to know what was said, and then finding out, okay, what were the reasons to get to this conclusion, so that your mind can catch on to it yourself.
Right.
This saves you a lot of time in reading.
And you don't have to like juggle through the pages.
Yes. And now with technology, look, we're very, very fortunate. When I was in law school, we didn't have this level of technological interface where we could do a control F and find out,
Yes.
with key terms,
Keywords.
what's happening in the judgment, right? Now everything's Google, everything's at your fingertips.
And briefs are also available. Like
Briefs,
if not the original judgment, you don't have the time, you can always refer to the briefs.
Absolutely. So now it's very, very easy. It's all accessible. It's all simplified for you, thanks to technology. But it's very important for you also to know how to use and take advantage of that technology which is available for us today. So know what you want to get at, what you're looking for, and keep your mind open to just those short points, because as you read and over time, you'll just know when you skim through one page. Another senior counsel who I was very fortunate to have learned with taught me how to read bare acts in a more simplified manner by avoiding the legalese that otherwise can throw you off, right? So if you're reading it literally like English literature word for word, you can tend to get lost in the language. Right. But if you know what to read in just that section, that will sort of help you grasp the concept, and then you know what to rely on.
And that is like one of the very, very best kind of like insight that you have given, that how like to refer to the bare act, because yes, you get lost into the words.
Yes.
The language of bare act is as such that if you're not giving your full of the attention to it, you might like lose in between the lines that what was it saying exactly. Definitely, ma'am. I totally agree with you, and thank you for the insight. Like personally, also, like I'm going to take a note of it.
Please tell me if it helps you.
Absolutely, ma'am, and it is going to help, because this is a very common problem. It is a very common problem
we all need to deal with it.
For all the young professionals, legal professionals as us, even with the law students for that matter. Ma'am, can you share a particularly challenging case you worked on, and how did you approach it as a any instance you can share as a teacher, mediator, legal consultant, advocate, how any case?
There are too many.
Yeah.
but
the best one, like please get out the best one from your bag.
Okay, so I'll talk about a product liability dispute. This was particularly tricky because when the client came to us, everything that was on the record and in the papers was working against the client, right? So there was very little or no chance to get away from the liability that the client was exposed to. Not only did the client's customer call upon it to indemnify based on the contract, but even third parties had filed claims in various courts, and this was also affecting the business reputation. They lost purchase orders, right? So they were in a very difficult stage, and it was, I mean, if they were not able to get out of this situation, it would have crippled the business, if not shut it down. So we were tasked with identifying what could be done, right? We had to give them a solution that could be legally implemented for them to mitigate their risks, deal with the claims, and still keep going as a business. So what we did was we broke it down. We took a stepwise approach. What we first did was we went into an entire analysis of what the business is into, understanding their background, their processes. We asked them to open their doors to absolutely all their processes, whether relevant or irrelevant to the problem that they were facing. And this gave us a 360-degree view of what was sort of happening. And then we focused on mitigating, separating the immediate steps that can be taken to, stop the damage that was happening, and get to address that first. And in parallel, we continued to talk to the people who had initiated the claims, talk to their customers, talk to their vendors, and tell them that we are open to resolving this together, as opposed to taking this to any other fight, so that the trust remains intact, right? They're assured that we're not going to leave them hanging. And this helped because after a very, very heavily negotiated settlement agreement was drafted, and it was put together, and everybody agreed to take on some responsibility, some liability, instead of continuing to dispute it and fight it, because everybody wanted to continue doing their business. And so this helped us save reputation, costs, timelines, everything, and we were able to manage it and control damage and allow them to continue doing what they do. Yeah.
Now that we are like few days after the union budget has been declared, we are very much obligated to talk about the startups. Yes.
Yes.
It played a very major role in our budget, and
yes, it is.
It is you advise startups. So, what are some of the common challenges you face when advising startups and SMEs, and how do you address them? Yes, ma'am.
So, see, startups and SMEs are always worried about cash flow and more business and, vendor management and all of those kind of things. So, and also at the same time, when you're talking about raising funds or wanting to give, equity or
I was about to mention that in a very early stage that they enter, the very first question they want to come is, can you help us with the fundraising? Can you help us with the seeding fund and everything? Can you help us? They are very much early into their business. They are just setting up their team and everything. But the very first concern they have before anything, like they make sure they are complied to every legal compliances that they have go to. The only concern they come up with the equity and like raising fund.
Correct. So I think startups and SMEs need hand-holding to first help them understand, what it will do if they pledge their equity to some stakeholder. Will they lose control of their business going down the line? The contracts that investors sort of give them, or the equity or debt that the investors ask for, how does it impact them? How, do they continue to have operational control? Can they be held liable if something sort of happens? They all work on projections, right? But what if they don't meet those projections? What happens in an adverse situation? what happens if a dispute arises. You have to really think about all these things. So it's really a lot of hand holding, because they're also at the very beginning of their business. So cash flow is an issue, getting business is an issue. So they're already in that very difficult space where they have very little liberty to take chances. So it's very tricky, but it's also important to understand where they're coming from and what their immediate need is.
Right.
So for startups and SMEs, that the handholding approach really helps to give them that flexibility. And then, of course, a long term, because they will need support from time to time, and they may not even know it yet. So helps to get into a long term arrangement.
Absolutely. And how do you advise them just to make them understand the importance of legal compliances? And because they tend to focus more on business, and sometimes just ignores legal compliances and everything, as if
Yeah.
we can take care of it later, or just in the process of saving a few bucks and dimes, they end up going to somebody or someone just to in order to save money, that are not very much capable or expert
Yeah.
in what they are doing, and
Yeah.
they end
Yeah.
up being in a very hectic situation
Yes.
legally.
Yes.
So
I
how
think
do
this is
you?
true for most clients, not just startups and SMEs. See, even when somebody is in any kind of legal trouble, they are going to think of it from a cost perspective, saying कि अरे ज़्यादा पैसा नहीं देना है
Right, right.
because they look at it as a cost perspective, and that I think is a problem. I think the mindset needs to change. See, evolved businesses or slightly settled businesses understand the importance
Yes.
of good legal guidance, and therefore have a budget for it. So they make provision for it, right? I think adopting that similar mindset for your business, to know that I will need a sound legal professional at my end, whether it's independent or it's a firm, to guide me in whatever sort of goes on, even if it's not on an ongoing basis. It can be on a retained basis or an engagement basis. But it's important to have that. It's also important to know who to pick or who to go to at what stage of your dispute, right? This, a lot of times in my advisory, I've seen that a lot of people have gotten more into trouble because they were relying upon the wrong kind of advice. And I don't hold it against the advisor. It's also because I believe that everybody has their own perspective and way and manner of dealing with things. It just may not match, which is why also it's important for you to go to someone who's that seasoned, that experienced, so that they can guide you appropriately, right?
But
So
that awareness doesn't exist a lot right now.
yeah, it doesn't. See, I think it exists for us now when it comes to an illness. So we know that doctor ke paas jana hai, to अच्छे doctor ke paas jana hai. So
Right.
then we will do our
Right. But
homework.
it's
We
not
will
for the
go for
advocate.
reference. Correct. So once they start understanding that doctors and lawyers are both professionals who will impact your life in one way or the other,
Yeah.
that awareness and
Yeah.
understanding will sort of help to set it in.
Yes,
I
yes,
think.
yes.
Yeah.
All so moving forward with from that, can you discuss the significance of your role as a privacy lead assessor and the impact it has on your clients?
So as a privacy lead assessor, now this is very interesting. Until we had Puttaswamy, we didn't even have awareness to that extent of how important privacy is to protect. Right now that it is read into our fundamental rights, I'm hoping that more people are more aware of this and more serious about protecting privacy. What do we talk about when we talk about privacy or these data protection norms? Right, we're talking about personal data. We're talking about sensitive and personal data or information, which is so commonly collected, across all our interactions. All these technology platforms, these are all the free services, are actually using our data as currency. So your information is now money, because it translates into exactly that for that business. So it's important for you to know who's holding it, who has access to it, what they're doing with it, and whether you can withdraw that consent that's given. So now we have a law about it. Very soon, data privacy and impact assessments will become mandatory for some businesses with that cutoff such, right? Once we have that notification. As a privacy lead assessor, it's important not just to go through the privacy policy, which is mandatory under even the SPDI rules, but also to understand the internal processes of the business, understanding the role of the business. Am I only holding the data? Am I actually processing it? if I'm processing it, how many people in my team have access to it? Do they need that access? Is there a possible, loophole that will allow a breach, right? I mean, we've all seen now what has happened recently with CrowdStrike, right? How now this is on the cyber security side of things. That was not a data or a penetration or an infiltration breach. That was an update that caused the issue. But something similar when happens through a malware attack, and all the information stored in a particular database is taken away. Even the organization, the data fiduciary who's actually responsible for all this information, many times internally is not aware until an audit is done of who had access to what data. And when we sit with these promoters or these heads of departments and we question them and ask them as auditors why this access was given, they're very often not even aware that this access was given or that this access was possible. So it's important to take a preventive approach here, and to be cognizant of knowing the importance of what you hold as a data fiduciary, and therefore work with the auditors. I also always advise that these should be done annually. Whether or not they're mandatory, you should do them annually, because we're working on tons and tons of data now. We don't have big data anymore. I think we have metadata now.
Right.
So we need to deal with that promptly.
Moving forward towards our last question for the professional round. What future trends do you foresee in the legal field, and how are you preparing to adapt to them?
I see a lot more integration with technology. I mean, we already have virtual hearings and trials happening. Just today, there was a notification that I saw where the high courts have informed that they are now moving to the 3.0 filing system, and they're conducting trainings, etc., etc. So it's all going to go virtual very fast. So not being technological savvy is no longer an option. So you must adapt to that. You must integrate with that. Another change that I personally made was, and I did this quite a while ago, I think around 2016 or 17, I stopped carrying a physical diary for my matters. I integrated that with my phone, and then to another software. I have a case management software now that helps me not just track my matters, but also give updates to clients about, any hearings, etc., that are coming up, so that they're also aware. And I also have stopped carrying physical briefs to file. I've integrated all of them on my tablet or my iPad, and I use that for arguments. It saves a lot of trouble to carry heavy briefs, and it also saves a lot of paper. So it's very important. The other trend I see is that a lot of paralegal support and litigation support will sort of come up. A lot of people are already shifting to arbitration. I also see a growing trend of people being inclined towards mediation of their disputes as well. So as that awareness grows, I think we'll be more open to talk about problems and also exploring solutions. So I see that as a future trend.
Right, ma'am. So that is it for the professional questions round. We are towards our next round, which is the personal questions round. We are just going to get you to know better. Yes, as an audience. So just to start with the very first question, how was your formative years, right from the school to giving class to like joining a law school, and then your transition to your first job, how everything was?
In hindsight, I think it was all very easy, but it didn't feel like that when I was there, right? But I think in that sense, I never had the dilemma or confusion of not knowing what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to pursue law ever since I was in my, I think, 6th or 7th standard. I was very clear about it.
Great.
And I had to then choose at one point between a 3-year law course and a 5-year law course. And I ended up then choosing my 5-year law school. We didn't have a CLAT at that point in time. It was not compulsory, a CET or a CLAT, so I didn't have to give that examination. And my mother refused to let me study out of the city. I wanted to go to NLS Bangalore, but my mom was she put her foot down and said that no, I wanted to study in Bombay and stay in Bombay with me, because I've suffered enough by sending your sister away for 3 years to study in IHM Goa. So I ended up pursuing my law in Bombay itself. And it was a great journey. And it was law school. I don't think I attended law school. I mean, if my professors are listening to this, they will attest to the fact that I've been an outstanding student, not because I was outstanding academically, but because I was always out of the class. I
Okay.
once
Okay, that is a different perspective to define an
I
outstanding
was
student.
outstanding. Yeah, I was literally outstanding. I once had a professor ask me, "Are you from this college?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And then she asked me what my name was. And when I told her, she's like, "Oh, you are Priyanka Pandit. I always read your name, but I've not seen you."
Okay.
So I've had that reputation once upon a time, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of learning. I think my passion for litigation developed when in my college we founded the Moot Court Society, and we put together the constitution, participated in moot
Right.
courts, and all of that was just an amazing journey. After which I was campus placed with an American law firm in the Bombay office, and thereafter I was headhunted by Thomson Reuters, so I joined them and worked with them for a while. And then I had to take a sabbatical for some personal reasons. Uh, After which, my father actually prompted me to explore working or practicing law in India locally. And that's when I stepped into litigation in 2014. So I worked with an additional counsel as his chamber junior, and then started independent practice just about a year later. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my journey.
A very interesting one, ma'am, actually. How do you manage a balance between your demanding career and personal life? Although, like, nowadays, like, it has been started, it is being called as that a work-life balance is a myth. You just have to work hard and hard and hard. But what is your personal opinion? Do you strike a balance between the two, or you also believe in the same concept of like just going on with it 100%, giving yourself to it?
So, see, I think it's a matter of perspective. I think a lot of us who are stressed or stuck in work, which doesn't drive us, doesn't motivate us, or doesn't give us passion, feels like a lot of load or burden, right? Which is not to say that we're not all working very hard. Of course, we are. But it's also important to know what we're working that hard for. So it's important to recognize that you do need to take time out for some personal things. You have to stop feeling guilty about saying that I can't do something for work right now because I need to give time to a family occasion or family event. They should not feel like you're doing something wrong or bad. This flexibility is also now very open with a lot of organizations. I think we're more understanding and open, flexible. Thanks to COVID, we've all shifted and learned that not everything can happen only from an office. You
Yeah.
can work from home and be just as productive,
A very, very major
right?
step.
So which is fantastic. I mean, it's great. I during COVID, I remember virtual hearings. I ended up taking one when I was in Lonavala celebrating my cousin's 50th birthday, and conducting an argument in the middle of all of that. So it gives you great flexibility to not miss out on work or miss out on personal time, which, and time is the one thing that you can never get back, never buy back. So important
Definitely.
to value it and keep that balance.
So, how do you unwind after a long day at work? Do you have any hobbies or activities that you go to, you have like enjoying your free time?
So whenever I have time, I enjoy going for walks, going to the beach, spending a lot of time with my dog. So she keeps me very busy when I'm back from
Okay.
work or when I'm at home. Otherwise, I enjoy casual reading, watching a lot of content, movie fans, so all of that. But yeah, that's how I. So generally, I'll read or I'll go for a walk or I'll just sit and watch something and relax.
Okay, so now that you have already mentioned content, movies, and books, so you have to like delve into it, like your favorite book, your go-to
Oh
movie,
gosh,
and what kind of content you enjoy.
my favorite book. Like, do I pick from a category because I have too many?
It's like up to you. It's
um,
completely your thing.
well, my favorite book in fiction when I was very very young, like when I was in school, was Sidney Sheldon, and a lot of sci-fi as well. So Robin Cook. Then I've enjoyed various genres actually as I've grown up. I've also enjoyed psychology, history, um, and all of those. Now I read a lot of theory and business and ethics kind of books for leisure. Sapiens is something that I really enjoy because
Yeah.
it gave you a very different perspective. Um, Movies, my go-to movie. This is very difficult. I can't pick one, but like if it's an English movie, then it has to be like a Notting Hill. If it's a Hindi movie, then it has to be Kaho Na Pyar
Okay.
Hai.
A best choice, like yes, a good one. And the kind of content you like to consume.
Oh, the content I like to consume are a lot of these documentaries, true crime, um, a lot of action as well. I also subscribe to the Curiosity channel. This is not an endorsement of branding. I'm
Yeah,
required to say that with the new guidelines. But yeah, I think all of these, some of these channels now have a lot of good content which talk about a lot of different things. So I
right.
will listen to astronomy, radio technology, history, what happened, and what future technologies are there. So yeah, varied content.
You mentioned about like your pet keeping you busy the entire time when you're free.
Yeah.
So, what role does he play in your life, and how does he contribute to your well-being?
She plays an extremely important role in my life. So before I adopted her, I had lost a pet and I was very firm on not wanting to feel and go through that pain again. And
Yeah,
I sort of said no, but I realized that the only way to sort of fill that void is to, get another life in your life. And so I went and I adopted her. I mean, my sister did. She surprised me. But ever since then, I've just been so grateful that she's with me. And she just she's a lot of work. It's a child for life, but she's just so positive and pepped up every time. Like, I mean, it just takes a few keywords for me to say chal, and she'll be off the sofa and wagging her tail and near the door, pulling me out for a walk or a drive or whatever it is that I want to do. She just wants to be with me. There are days when she will not let me leave the door till I say that, okay, I'm going to your office now and I'm going to come back and take you. So it's a very important part of my life, having my pet with me. It's a lot of support on days when you're down, you're low, you're a little
right.
stressed, right? They just have
Be
that
present.
energy to change all of that for you. So it's lovely to have them.
Definitely. Do you have any favorite travel destinations or places that you would like to visit?
I have a long travel list, but if I have to pick, I'd pick Ireland and Norway.
Okay,
Ireland because of the Stonehenge, and Norway for the Northern Lights.
right. So this is like your travel, your
These are like dream
like
destinations that
aspirate
I
dream
want to. Yeah,
destinations. Yes.
yeah, yeah.
To put it in right words. But what are your like favorite travel destinations that like your favorite ones?
Oh, my favorite ones, like my go-to would be anywhere with a beach. Actually, I'm a beach
Oh, you
person.
are a
So
beach person.
yeah, I'm a beach person. I know a lot of people say you can't choose, but I will choose a beach every single time. So I'm a beach baby in that sense. Goa is native for me, so I'll go to Goa once a year anyway. But yeah, so I've enjoyed Goa. I've enjoyed the Northeast also. Very beautiful landscape. Actually, India
Right,
has so many beautiful places. Many times I think we don't need to go abroad. Very recently, I was in Kashmir and it's breathtaking.
right.
So yeah.
How do you stay motivated and inspired in both your personal and professional life?
So I think because I'm so passionate about what I do, it sort of motivates me, right? Anyway, but also I think every time I see how I've contributed or helped in a client's success, or how I've changed or impacted their lives for the better, that thought is motivation enough for me to sort of understand that what I'm doing is so important, even if not for like a lot of people, but for that one person for whom I'm doing it, right? So that is a great motivator for me to know that I'm doing everything that I can personally, professionally to help somebody, and I'm giving it my best. So,
Yeah. Last question for the personal question round. If you have to describe Priyanka in one line, what that line would be?
One line. Wow, that's
I was about to give you a word, but I am giving you a
please.
line.
Oh, you're going to give me a word.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
all
a
right. You're
line.
being generous. All right.
Yes, absolutely, ma'am. I am like being very generous. So give us a line right now.
Okay. I think fun-loving, passionate, sincere. I'm like an all or nothing kind of woman. That's my
Great, ma'am. So that is it for that personal questions round. We are towards our last round, which is the rapid fire round. And as mentioned,
Oh,
that if you
my goodie
perform
bag.
well, yeah, if you perform well, we have a surprise for you. So,
Okay.
whenever like you're ready, we can start and then get on with everything. Are you ready?
Sure. Mm.
Okay.
Yes, please. Let's go for it.
Yeah, so you have to pick and choose.
Okay.
Answer in a word or a line, however you feel. No
Okay.
restrictions.
Okay.
Favorite legal drama or TV show?
Suits.
Okay. Uh, Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Early bird or a night owl?
Early bird.
Your go-to comfort food?
Butter chicken.
Most memorable TEDx experience?
When I spoke at TEDx, actually, very recently
Right.
at Lavasa.
Okay. One thing that you can't live without?
My dog.
Most used app on your phone?
WhatsApp.
Okay. Dream vacation destination. You mentioned Iceland.
I mentioned, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but anything like any place in India actually. Let's do
Any
that.
place in India? Kerala, I've not been there, so it's kind of on my list for a long time.
Okay. Favorite law school memory? Being an outstanding student.
Outstanding student. Always had a fixed chair in the library. I would not attend classes, sit there, research, work on mood courts and
Right.
all of that. So
So please share one. Like
oh, so we had like a fixed table and chair because our librarian knew that we're not going to do anything else but come and occupy those seats. So nobody else was, allowed to take those seats.
right.
That was one thing. But we had a lot of fun times. All my moot court memory days are, I think, very close to my heart. So I've had a lot of fun working on moots in the college, in cafes, on the go in the trains, debating, rehearsing, researching. All of that is just very, very good nostalgia.
Okay, so that is it for the rapid fire round. You performed really well, so congratulations.
Thank you.
And for the surprise, this is the ebook that we are going to send.
Okay.
Yeah, it is like signed by the author himself, Sir Lion Amir Virani.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, he will or he you will be getting an autographed one, along with some other surprise goodies. Our team will getting in touch with you, and you
Sure.
will very soon receiving a mail in your mailbox from
Okay.
us on the behalf of the Prime Infotech Solution.
Sure.
Yes. So this is it. Thank you so much for joining, ma'am. This has been a wonderful experience, and I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did having you on this show. Our audience and our team
Absolutely.
did. I again thank you for taking your valuable time out of your busy schedule to have this session with us. Very
Thank you.
thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. This was lovely.
For our audience, please stay tuned to watch this and many other interesting coffee conversation episodes on our YouTube channel, The Coffee Conversation Show. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Look forward to yet another interesting speaker with yet another cup of coffee. So we would be very much looking forward to. Thank you all for joining, and very heartful thank you, ma'am, for giving your time.
Thank you.
It
Thank
was
you. The
an
pleasure was all
absolute
mine. Thank you.
thank you, ma'am.